Guys, they're actually going for a moon. It's ballistic. What's happening? Guys, it's bullish following bullishness after I don't know in today's video. These folks are really on something. They appear to have a strong desire to moon all asset classes prior of the collapse. There's no drill here. This is serious. Pay attention to this and to what's going on. Breaking from Majuru, you can see that inflation is 3% lower than anticipated. That's crazy. In fact, inflation is declining. Furthermore, I was unaware that this was taking place today. Am I correct? Guys, I didn't know till I saw this. Wait a minute, I say. In fact, it's a welcome surprise that inflation is declining. One of the strongest indications that the Fed may eventually lower interest rates without a catastrophic event is this. That would be noteworthy. Guys, that would be the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. Inflation is declining. You see, after the Fed slashed interest rates and became too optimistic, everything actually took off. Does Bitcoin have a value of $500,000? That's an insane number. Guys, the Dow Jones is up 50 to 60K and the S&P is simply soaring. XRP is probably around $50 to $100. Ethereum is also up there. Therefore, that is truly lunacy. Guys, I never ever imagined that this would be a thing. However, it appears that the Fed must act quickly. Because time is running out. I'll say it again. This is extremely bullish. And for that reason, I believe that the stock market is currently rising and that this news is being incorporated into cryptocurrencies, particularly Ethereum. But take a look at this, guys, from Zero Hedge. Take a look at this. Take a look at this man. And I'm not sure, am I right if this doesn't excite you? By the way, a black swan occurrence is the only thing that could put an end to all of this. However, once more, the hallmark of a black swan is its unpredictability, isn't that right? You can't foresee it. All of this means that, upon a truce with China, JP Morgan makes a recession call, correct? What is this bullishness that is emerging from the woodworks? Then, the system's insiders, Jason Koh and JP Morgan, increased their prediction of an AC economic expansion following a short-term trade agreement between the United States and China, abandoning their earlier prediction that the greatest economy in the world will enter a recession in 2025. Well, let's see where this is coming from. As Trump achieves an agreement to reduce tariffs on China, JP Morgan reduces his likelihood of a recession. Correct. Today, May 13, 2025, occurred. Inflation has not only decreased, but system insiders are now stating, hey, we're taking back our recession call for the economy and now we're going to call for things to basically skyrocket. Correct? As a result, JP Morgan is retracting his prediction. It had a 60% chance. In 2025, there was a 60% chance that the US would experience a recession. At that time, 60% is essentially guaranteed, right? I'm sorry, President Donald Trump's temporary agreement to lower tariffs on China while two trading partners negotiate a trade deal might lower the likelihood of a recession below 50%, the bank wrote in a report on Tuesday. Even still, the hazards remain high. Whoa. Therefore, reducing tariffs on China has improved the stock market and greatly reduced the likelihood of a recession. That's intriguing. Given that the S&P is currently increasing, that is intriguing. I take it that the S&P closed almost 200% higher than its April low, formally starting a fresh bull market, and then all of its 2025 losses were erased. Alright, so that's Dow Jones, and we'll be discussing that shortly. But first, gentlemen, have a look at this for the S&P. The entire dump has been practically wiped, isn't that right? It resembled a V-shaped recuperation. Keep in mind that this is the stock market. Cryptos will follow if this trend continues to rise, correct? Next, let's look at the Dow Jones. Alright, so the Dow Jones is currently at a pivotal moment. Guys, the Dow Jones is currently fighting a very significant level and it is at a pivotal moment. This level at which it is currently struggling is almost the same as XRP being between $2.75 and $2.80, which is quite significant resistance, isn't it? Guys, the S&P needs to hold up here, consolidate, and continue to soar. And it's just heading to the moon, huh? Literally correct, that's insane. It's not just JP Morgan, by the way. Other banks and insiders are also advocating for things to soar, therefore eliminating the calls for a recession or decreasing the odds. Guys, once more, this is all because of the trade pact with China. The likelihood of a recession later this year is now more or less in doubt, correct? So, gentlemen, anything might happen in the end. However, in all honesty, they seem to be saying, hey, maybe the economy is great, right? The chance that the economy will enter a recession this year should be lessened by the administration's recent decision to lower some of the more severe tariffs imposed on China. the chief economist, J.P. Morgan, said in a note on Tuesday. And now everybody, let's get started. Take a look at this. The projection was altered since the Consumer Price Index's annual inflation rate of 2.3% was lower than anticipated. Tuesday, correct. And so and then, which kicked off a bull market. Why? Because as we speak, everything is rising. Yes. Therefore, they have decided to open China completely. And it will be great for China, in my opinion. It will be great for us, I believe. At the White House on Monday, Trump stated, "I think it's going to be great for unification and peace." J.P. Morgan, meanwhile, is unsure if the economy will expand as much as Trump anticipates. But hold on, Trump seems incredibly optimistic at the moment, right? I think that's the problem. Guys, this is really our key argument for becoming quite bullish. We have the same theory about why Trump is the same. Do you want to know why? Because Trump is overly optimistic. Isn't that right? Max is optimistic, which, of course, we have been since the beginning of time. Yes, there have been times when we have called for black swans, and some of them have come true, particularly with regard to tariffs, but overall, the trend is positive. The tendency is upward. Guys, let me explain why in a moment. As a result, this bull run is expected to continue until 2026, correct? Therefore, folks, this was a long ago forecast, correct? Additionally, it states that 2026 is the best year to sell. This isn't advice on finances, a black swan threat, or anything similar. And this is the collapse, isn't it? Returning here, let's see what Trump has to say. According to Trump, the stock market will rise significantly. Extremely bullish and bullish. He isn't being playful. A growing market will suffice. Yes, it will rise significantly. Actually, I informed folks that this is an excellent opportunity to buy 5 weeks ago. Received criticism for it. They no longer criticize me now. People examine that. He mentioned it's a wonderful opportunity to buy a few weeks ago. He is an insider, as I mentioned. He must be giving away free calls now, don't you think? Thus, we ought to pay attention to him. It's going to get much higher, but you should listen. He just stated that if you pay attention to what I have to say, it will rise significantly. What is it that he knows? Guys, according to Trump, China has consented to open up the nest for trade and other purposes. Isn't this something that happened today? Guys, the lunar mission has started once more. They're not making a joke. They aren't being playful. In fact, they are attempting to reach the moon. This is perhaps the final card they will ever play. Do you know why? We warned you that everything must go into a frenzy before the collapse occurs, right? The balloon must get so big that it will most likely burst when you blow on it. Isn't that correct? However, for it to occur, Bitcoin must reach previously unimaginable heights. XRP hopefully $100. Ethereum, guys, I'm not sure. Perhaps more than 30,000. I'm telling you, you might think, hey, wouldn't everyone be rich if everything went up there? Both yes and no. Do you know why? So it's likely that folks are missing out. That's the top priority. Second, like me, isn't it? It's okay, guys, even if I already messed up this bull cycle, there will be more to come. However, I suppose that was a waste of time. Sort of. Listen to this now. People who will make a lot of money now will most likely lose it in an instant as well because of that crash, right? That's the recipe. Therefore, it makes no difference if they make people wealthy since the insiders will profit. The insiders will most likely sell on retail as soon as they see all this money streaming in, which will be their exit liquidity, right? Therefore, exercise extreme caution when viewing Bitcoin at heights. In my opinion, though, we are going to head up there, so I never even considered the stock market. What do you think of this comment below? It seems like they really want to go for the moon. Let's see what happens next financially. We are bullish until the collapse, though there may be some curveballs here and there. I don't see you giving financial advice.